Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Newmarket Road podcast. I'm your host, Callum Toff, joined by Liam, who's a Wycombe fan. Liam, thank you so much for joining me tonight, mate.
No problem. No problem. Thank you for having me again.
That's no worries. So, Wycombe fan, obviously quite a good season for you in the finals of the playoffs. What's your thoughts, firstly? Was you quite expected to be MK Dons, or was it always quite a maybe, maybe not kind of thing? Or were you just excited to be in the playoffs, really?
Well, I did go to the last game of the season and I saw their result against Plymouth and I was just like, oh dear, what's going to happen here then? And obviously the players were kind of not aware of the result or were aware of the result. I'm not sure, but they obviously had a game plan to deal with MK in the first leg and it worked. Personally, I think we probably could have done with the third goal just to keep it a bit one way towards us for the second leg and not have too much kind of jeopardy on the result and see what happens. So, but yeah, I think it worked. And then obviously the second leg they came at us, they got the early goal, and yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't want to watch for most of that game until about the 85th minute. And they, fair play to MK, they played us off the park in that game, and it didn't work because we obviously come out with a victory. There's only one team that can time waste better than us, and we've got them in the final. So yeah.
Yeah, going onto your opponents for the final, Sunderland. We were there when they just beat Sheffield the other night and saw the reaction of certain, the fans and the Sheffield fans as well. It was an interesting game as well. What do you kind of make of Sunderland's season? Are you quite confident going into the final, or would you prefer Sheffield Wednesday?
I think all day long I preferred Sheffield Wednesday, to be honest. Because Sunderland are that kind of team that they can just turn up. They've got the resources. They got more strikers than you can shake a stick at, and they could just turn it on. Hopefully it doesn't happen in 9 days' time, but I'm quietly confident that it's a one-off occasion and we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to the final the other year when you went up from League One 2 years ago. Are you feeling the same kind of way for that game, or was it a bit of a different game to how you would pick from last one?
Our team is stronger. Our team is so much stronger, so much more experienced than the way that we kind of went at it last time when we played Fleetwood was completely the right way. We played the experienced players in the first leg, got the job done, battered Fleetwood 4-1. I thought honestly it could have been similar in the first leg, but obviously it wasn't against MK. And then experience just told. It's all about experience in the playoffs, and the big game players, and Sunderland have those in absolute abundance. So did we, and we both got to the final on merit. So yeah, I think Sunderland will be a tough team. That they always are. In the league, in a cup, whatever. So just see what happens.
Yeah, I want to kind of touch a bit on Gareth Ainsworth, bit of a favourite manager of mine as well. So I'm not jealous you got him at all. But what has he done for Wycombe Wanderers as a club? Because we've seen, the record he's brought you guys up divisions, and he's stayed there, I think, 14 years now. It's something he's been there for a long time. What about him do you like? And, I don't know if you're on a side where you think it's time for him to move on or anything, but I've seen some fans that are like that. But
yeah,
what's your feeling on it?
Those fans that are like that, they can stay as far away from me as they as possible, because I do not agree. There are times, obviously, where you don't agree with everything the manager does, but if you're kind of one of those fans that watches it and kind of has in mind the kind of way they want to play or the style they want to implement against certain opposition, then you can kind of appreciate it a bit more. Whereas like these armchair fans that just want to win every game, they don't really understand the process. We can't go out and spend 20 million on a striker. We can't. It's just ridiculous that some people are saying, "Oh, throw your cash now. Now you've got money. Let's go and spend all the way to the Championship, and it doesn't work. Sunderland tried it.
Mm.
They bought Will Grigg for 4 million, and I think it was on loan at Doncaster last season. So it just, and they got relegated. So a £4 million striker couldn't even help Doncaster stay up. So yeah, that's you can see what I mean. And the processes that we've got in place now, we've got like not the youth academy, but we've got the development players within, and I think we've had 3, 4 now. So Anis Mehmeti come from Norwich, was released by Norwich. Chris Farino was playing university football, for goodness sake, and he's now starting in League One games. And Connor Parsons as well was released by Norwich. Went out to Bromley and Notts County this season, but he's another one to look out for. And then 2 others, Ali Al-Hamadi's out on loan on Bromley, and they're playing. I think they've got the playoff final soon, or the FA Trophy final soon. So he'll be playing in that. And then Malachi Linton is another one. So we've already got these players in place, whereas people like Sunderland will just be like, there you go, there's £2 million. We can't do that. So we've had to get scraps, even though we do have new owners. So it just tells us that he's working hard. Ainsworth is working hard at these things, even though we have the money. We can't change things overnight, and we still want to kind of be down to earth.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in a bit of the same position as a Cambridge. And in a way, we've kind of gone for a takeover, and not as big, but
yeah,
managers come through the development squads and under 21s, and now he's a full. Preston were looking at him as the next manager.
Yeah.
It's things like that. It kind of makes the club a completely different way it's run, and I think that's why, for personal note for me, I've mentioned to you a few times, my kind of not love, but like I always look out for Wycombe stories. It's a mutual thing, because you can respect a smaller club doing really well. I don't like to mention it, but with Luton, the way they're doing it there and how they're doing is brilliant there.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just one of those things.
It's one of them, and people will. There are certain people, obviously, that who are Brentford fans. Brentford, they play the same formation as us. They have the same type of players as us. The only difference is they have a bit more money, and they're in the Premier League. They have a manager with long hair, for goodness sake, who jumps up and down like a madman on the sideline. So there are so many comparisons, and with Brentford, and that's the kind of model that everyone's looking at now. Once you get promoted from League Two, once you get promoted from League Two, you want to then try and make waves in League One, see how high up you can finish, and then progress forward from that. It's worked with Luton, it's worked with Brentford. Luton were in the conference, I think, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah,
look where they are now.
Yeah, they were in the same time as us.
Yeah, they got championship playoffs tonight against Huddersfield. So it just shows you how far we can go if we stick to that same model and bring players in from non-league or from off-casts from Premier League teams, like higher up Championship teams, and build that team spirit. Our team spirit is probably the best in England. I don't care what anyone says. You could win Champions Leagues, you could win Premier Leagues, but team spirit will get you so far in this game. And Ainsworth's picked up on that.
Yeah, I fully agree with things. A bit of a controversial. What would you if, say, for example, Ainsworth left for a bigger job? It could happen. We've seen it in football and everything. Yeah. Where would you see Wycombe going? Because that's a big gap to fill with such an iconic person as Ainsworth.
Yeah, I don't want to compare the two, but Man United, they got rid of, or Sir Alex Ferguson retired. I think it was something like 10 years ago this year. He retired, and they brought in so many managers. They tried the ex-player route, they tried all of this, but after someone like Ainsworth, who has been there for 10 years, you have to get it right. There probably will be times where, and I really hate thinking about it because I love him to bits. I think he's absolute legend. But there will probably be times where, or periods where it's not all rosy, and people will be get the next manager in, But I think we have to be wise with the approach with the next manager. There are similar managers out there that could do the job, and there are ex-players that we have. Matt Bloomfield, he retired halfway through the season with a head injury, and he's been on the coaching staff. It depends if Ainsworth goes. It depends on who he takes with him as to who's there. But we've had these sort of big time ex Premier League players before. Tony Adams come and was manager for us for a bit, and he was absolutely rubbish. So and we've had the flip side of that as well. We've had a European Cup winner, and arguably now Martin O'Neill is probably the second best manager in the history, because Ainsworth is overtaking him. I mean, if Martin O'Neill's not in a Zimmer frame by then, maybe he could come back and do it. I'll tell you what, that if he would come back, then who knows? I would pay to see that. That'd be brilliant. That'd be like the top one. If he wanted to ever go out on a blaze of glory,
one season for you guys.
I would take that. Yeah. Or like young up and coming managers. I mean, I hate to say it because you're there in front of me, but I do quite like Mark Bonner. I do. I think he's got potential there. They beat Newcastle, for crying out loud. Any team that beats Newcastle is great, especially with the wealth and stuff they've got now. But
yeah,
people like Mark Bonner, the young up and coming managers. I mean, Scott Brown, he's the ex-Celtic player, has just got the Fleetwood job today. So people like that, I would love to see it. But yeah, I think it would be. I don't want to think about it anymore. Can we move on to the next question? I don't want to think about Ainsworth leaving anymore.
Yeah, well, kind of, he can stay there for as long as he likes, in your opinions. That's the main thing. But
I'd give him a lifetime contract.
Obviously, this season come back down from the Championship back into League One. It's probably a big hit considering you got relegated on the last day. I know all three teams did, but it's still not a good thing to happen. Was you kind of a bit optimistic coming into the season, or were you kind of thinking, okay, we've got players that I can see, us going straight back up next year?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we definitely discussed this before for the semi-final preview, but we had the likes of Fred Onyedinma and Uche Pizu who both left us, and I just sort of think if we'd have kept them. Obviously, it was up in the air as to whether we were going to be in the Championship or League One because of Derby's situation. Obviously, they stayed up by a point ahead of us. So I think if we'd have kept them too, then maybe, and then built on that. But I can understand why they wanted to stay in the Championship. I mean, Fred now, he's in the playoffs for the Premier League. So I could totally understand why they did it. At the time, obviously, it was a bit of sour grapes, and I was thinking, what we're going to do here. But that we always find a way somehow of pulling it out of the bag. And I think I know we definitely got a better deal. We've got Sam Vokes in. And no disrespect to Uche, but no disrespect to Uche at all. But Sam Vokes, just wow.
Premier League. Yeah.
I think in 2016,
I was so surprised when that came in.
Euro 2016, he scored against Belgium, for crying out loud. I'm like, yeah, here we go. But and it was that thing when, like, the first few games of the season when he was playing, it was like the Accrington game. I'm just looking at the fixture list above.
Yeah.
Accrington game, Cheltenham and Wigan away, and Lincoln, and then obviously Sunderland away. He really struggled, and Vokes really struggled, and there was fans already going, "Oh, Sam Vokes, he's passed it. No wonder Stoke didn't play him." And then we just made a little tweak in the formation, and bang.
No, he's 17 goals this season.
Yeah, absolutely flying, absolutely flying. I think he had concrete in his boots for the second leg against MK, because he didn't really move about that much. He tried it, bless him, but that big pitch, which I could see it being an issue. in 9 days' time for the final, I could see it being an issue. But so I wouldn't be surprised if Vokes doesn't start, and we maybe bring him off the bench. But again,
I
who
can
knows?
see. Yeah, we've had the same problem with Wes this year, who's retired at the end of the season. But you chuck him on a big pitch, Sheffield,
Yeah,
surprising the one at Newcastle conveniently.
yeah,
Um, you know, he done all right. He didn't play against Wigan, but any of the big Charlton, any of the big stadiums, all like big pitches, because we've narrowed our pitch the most you can get. And he ran out of stamina, and
yeah,
it just was. You could tell it just wasn't a fit for him. So I can kind of the same thing. What
yeah.
with we mentioned Sam Vokes, but other transfers coming in this year. Is there any kind of ones that have made you think we've got someone for the future here, or is it really kind of been a season where you just kind of not really paid attention to transfers much?
No, so we brought in those like youth team, those development players, like you said, and we've kind of integrated them into the team. I mean, to be completely honest, I can't actually remember who we brought in. It was such a long time ago. But yeah, no, the players that I don't think we actually brought that many in, and we got rid of a few. I think that the ones that we had like towards the tail end of, because we made some signings in the championship and they weren't quite fully fit. It was almost like we had new signings. Tafazoli was the big one. Ryan Tafazoli was the big one that we'd bought him, and he wasn't really that fit. And once he got fit, I think we stayed unbeaten for like 6 or 7 games. Last 6 or 7 games of the championship. We went to Middlesbrough and won 3-0 on the final day. It's just those kind of players really. If those kind of players had maybe been fit earlier, then who knows? And I think it was just again about getting the philosophy right, seeing whether we could bring a championship play style into League One. And there were certain teams it worked against, and there were certain teams it didn't. I think the bigger games, so the championship-esque clubs, like Rotherham's, Wigan's, hate to say it, but Sunderland, all the bigger types of players, bigger types of teams, bringing that style of play in, they had to change it. They had to change it to play the same way. And you could clearly see it on the match day that they had a certain way of playing, and they thought, oh Christ, they've got championship on us. We're not going to be able to cope with it, so we're going to have to play the same way. Against like the lesser teams, like lower down the table, we were able to play a 4-3-3 and really, really attack them, and just play our normal style of play.
Yeah.
So
it has to say when you played us both times, it was really like next to each other, like 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
And it was like, I know we never get nothing from you guys at all, and I think we've got like 1 win in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
But it was thankfully Uchi scored that goal, so it's all right. But it's one of them things where like certain teams can't play against the championship play stuff. It works really well, and I think it kind of leads on nicely to my next kind of thing. You're 7th overall in goals conceded, 1.1 goals per game, or something along them lines.
Yeah.
You've mentioned as the time wasting, Joe, which is completely fair and happens to all teams. What would you say the key aspects of that? Not many goals conceded in games are very good. It's what you need to go up. What would you say is the key for that? Because Sunderland are 10th with 1.2. It's a big, that 0.1% can be quite a critical thing. What would you kind of say is a big part of that?
So the kind of the slowing the play down, it gives you that chance to not make rash decisions. There's a lot of teams that will play high press football, that they'll play this kind of style where you can't breathe for more than 5 seconds, because you've got this high style of play and you're constantly moving, and if you make one mistake, the other team can score. Whereas if we slow the game down to our level, it's not that we're slowing it down to make to equal the game out. Well, actually, yeah, we are. We're kind of bringing it down to an equal level, where it's more kind of we have a chance to be able to impose our style of play, be physical. It's hard to be physical and play a fast style of football because, you can't get tight to a defender when you're playing fast football. You can't do these kind of things. You can't put a tackle in. You can't do all these kind of things because they just turn you so quickly, and they could pass it. They could bop it around 3 or 4 times before you've even got anywhere near them. So if you slow the game down, you're able to create this high press, and it actually, you don't have to get right in their faces, which I think suits Sam Vokes really, really well, because he doesn't really have the pace to keep it up for 90 minutes. If you slow the game down to his level, to his pace, he will.
Yeah.
That's
Would
why,
you say that, because you're averaging 44.8%
yeah,
possession per game, would you say that's a factor to that? Okay, possessions, not
yeah,
everything. So would you kind of say you're taking away the possession side of it to
yeah.
kind
So,
of
I
break teams
saw
down?
this. Yeah, so I saw this stat when I watched both the games back after the next day, and I saw they both come up with a stat. It was like MK Dons won, like first, every single passing, every single stat to do a passing, and we were between 20th to 24. And I was like, yeah, but look at the first leg, didn't need it.
Yeah.
Right, the second goal in particular, it was a long ball from Tafazoli to Sam Vokes, played it out somewhere else, and then he spun round and got on the end of it. So, you don't need to do all these kind of 2 or 3 passes. There's one long pass and you can get there. I mean, it's not just, a lot of people say it's hit and hope, but it isn't, because that's what it used to be. When Akinfenwa was playing week in and week out in League Two, it was a hit and hope, because what we used to do was play it centrally, and then he would knock it out wide, and then he would get in the back post. But now we're able to play different styles of play, where we could play it out to the fullback, we can get people pushing forward, maybe play a little triangle in the middle or something, just to tire the midfielders out and give us a bit more space, then get the ball out wide and put it in the back post. We're actually thinking about it now rather than just putting it straight down the middle. And it is very hard to defend. And you see a lot of teams are doing it now. I think some variations of it, Wolves, when Espirito Santo was in charge, they used to do it.
Yeah, with Jimenez and everything up top, yeah.
Yeah. They had Jimenez, when they first got back into the Premier League, they had Jimenez, Adama Traore, and Diogo Jota, right? It was exactly the same. The only way, or the only reason it looks different, is because they have international players. They have Premier League quality players that don't mess up a pass. When you play with League Two and League One players, not every pass is going to be on the money and look good. And it's that simple fact, is that if you see it in the Premier League, it must be brilliant. If you see it in League One or League Two, it's just a long ball. It's a long ball that's not going to do anything. So
yeah, and it's it's people. League One does and League Two does get stick for not being as attractive and everything, but you break it down. In my opinion, it's a bit more tactical, because you've got teams like your Wycombe's, any kind of team that's going to be a bit more rough and ready compared to and then you look at Sunderland, Sheffield, they're going to pass it around a bit more into it. And you've got
exactly.
The likes of
you could probably I would say split the league up into 3 parts.
Yeah.
Into 3 groups. You could have the top level, like the MK Dons, like you said, the MK Dons, Plymouths, Sheffield Wednesdays, all those like Wigans, Rotherhams, that kind of team, who will pass it around until the cows come home.
Yeah.
Then you've got the middle kind of level where they do a bit of passing and a bit of long ball. And then you've got the other the teams down the bottom who there's no point in them playing because they just can't keep up. Sorry if any Crew fans are here or any other teams who have got relegated this season, but yeah, you were diabolical this season. Sorry, but it's true.
What would you touched a bit on like the relegated teams. How you find League One different from this time to 2 years ago? Because there's been a lot of new teams in, and what have you kind of made League One as a whole this year as kind of coming back into it?
But as I said to you before, similar to the Championship, better squad. we've got a better squad, we've got a smarter squad, more knowledgeable squad on all the other divisions. You know, our coaching staff, we're able to, with the money that we've got, well, it's not much, but you know, it's enough. We're able to get these kind of analysts in who can help us out, can break the game down. We can see all the different pieces. You know, every game you'll see Josh, our analyst. He has to run from the top tier of our stand. He'll run all the way down and then down the tunnel. And you can tell when it's time for the players to come back out again, because he'll sprint across that pitch and head all the way up to the top of the stand. So yeah, no, we're wising up to it. You know, it's just being knowledgeable on every team, and we didn't have that before. We didn't have a plan B. We didn't have a plan C, plan D. You know, there was no game management. We didn't do that, and it was something I was crying out for a couple of years ago. You know, we're playing these teams, like these big teams, and we're not able to see it out. We're not able to play dirty football, or, you know, backs to the wall football. We're not able to do that. Lo and behold, get a few players in who know the game, who can actually play it the way we want to play it. Look where we are.
Yeah. What about the other teams in League One? Has there been any kind of, you know, difference from this time, or has any team surprised you, or any teams you kind of felt have done better? Just an overall talk on, you know, teams in League One.
Yeah, so I'll be honest. I thought teams like Portsmouth and Doncaster actually. So this one, I had a discussion about this with a few Wycombe fans, and I said Doncaster will be up there because they signed Rashawn Williams from Shrewsbury. They signed the lad from you guys, that Kyle
Noyle, yeah.
Kyle Noyle, who I thought was brilliant the last League One season. Thought he was outstanding. I think they got no, he went to Rotherham. They got like a really good group of players, and I said, like, watch out for them, and it just didn't happen. Like, I literally thought they were gonna fly up the table. I thought they'd be in the top 6 for sure. Obviously it didn't happen, and then they changed the manager and stuff, and there was a little mini revival towards the end of the season, but again, it wasn't enough. Fleetwood, obviously, they were in the playoffs with us. They played us in the semi-finals, and they'd actually strengthened even more than when we played them. I think they lost a few key players. I think they had some loan players. Paddy Madden obviously went to Stockport, so that was a big chunk of their goals. But yeah, so again, those two teams, just off the top of my head. So Portsmouth, I know a fair few Portsmouth fans, and we were, you know, I always talk to them about it, and their squad. I know more about their squad than most of League One because they talk about it so often. Yeah. Who was the other one? There was another one. I hate to say it, but Ipswich. You know, I thought they were gonna fly as well.
Yeah, but I was kind of same. You know, I was expecting them to be playoffs and above, and they really they didn't get going to the end of the season personally.
With my invisible Norwich City hat on, I was sort of cheering quite loudly every time they didn't get a result, especially when you guys beat them. That really made me happy.
Living in Norwich, it does make, you know, I was like the talk of the town the next day. Because everyone was like, "Oh, you know, you beat Ipswich."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I was cheering quite loudly when that happened. So yeah, you know, all the usual suspects who underperformed, or the unusual suspects who overperformed. Let's say the previous season when we were in League One. Obviously, we didn't really pay much attention to it when we were in the Championship, as you wouldn't. But it's those kind of things, you know. Those teams, I think, and to be honest, another one would probably actually be MK. Yeah. Again, hate to say it, but we beat them, so who cares?
Yeah, they're there for another year, and I don't know.
Yeah.
You can do the same for next year, but you know, they're still a young
I don't
team.
think so now. I don't think so.
I know we joke about, you know, the fans and what fans and, you know, everything like that, but you know, they do play a good, attractive, you know, a good style of play, and they've got a good young team. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if we can look forward, I was going to say Forest Green would be a dark horse, but obviously, Rob Edwards has gone to Watford under somewhat of a cloud.
Bit of a weird one, that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
A very weird transfer.
yeah. Dale Vince doesn't seem too happy about it, but he'll eat some vegetables and get on with it, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure we have one of
Um,
the vegan burgers or what they have up there.
exactly. So yeah, no. I would have said them, and then God, yeah. So I would have said Forest Green would have been a dark horse, maybe to kind of maybe sneak into the top 10, but depends on who they get as a new manager, as to what happens with them.
Yeah, kind of a bit of a come back to Wycombe, but Akinfenwa,
Yeah.
he's this is his last game on. I think he's announced his retirement for last game will be next Saturday. It's his birthday as well, which is quite. It's everything's kind of aligned for him to score, which I can imagine it happening. But what do you make of him? And is it a bit of a sad time to see him leave because he's been there for quite a while? What do you kind of make
Yeah.
of the whole Akinfenwa final time and everything?
Oh, we spoke earlier about Ainsworth, and it's obviously not quite on the same scale, but just it's one of those things, when we played him, or we played against him about 2 or 3 times from my memory since I supported the club, and it's one of those players who you hate playing against, but when he joins, you think,
You love
here we
him.
go, here we go, yeah. The other one was always Darius Charles when he played for Stevenage and Brentford against us. Obviously, then joined us, Wimbledon as well. But yeah, Akinfenwa, when he came in, it was a surprise. I think that the day he was announced, we were unveiling our new kit, and they did this great big fashion show, like unveiling all the kit and stuff, and suddenly like the curtains just closed, and I was like, okay, what's going on here then? And it's like, oh, we've got one last surprise guest, and the curtains whipped open, and he was there, and I was like, what? How have we done that? I was like, how have we done that? Obviously, I watched the playoff final where he scored that penalty, and he was like, hit me up on WhatsApp, and I was like, come on, we have to, surely. But you don't think it's going to happen,
Yeah.
and it did, and he never. We never looked back. I think he's got the record for the most EFL goals for Wycombe now, 54 or 55, something like that. He's amazing, absolutely amazing. The stuff he does, he attracts a crowd from far and wide. We had for his his farewell game against one of his old clubs. I think it was Wimbledon. No, sorry, Doncaster. When we played Doncaster at home, it was the atmosphere was amazing, and you got so many fans from so many different countries wanting to meet him every game, and he had time for every single one of them, and I just thought, you're amazing. You're absolute class with every single one, and in fact, I got a little memento from that day.
Oh, even better.
And I will treasure this for forever. It's probably the last autograph I will ever get from him. I've got photos up behind me of like player sponsored dinners and things like that I've had with him over the years. But that piece of paper there, that card, that'll mean everything. It'll be the last ever autograph I get. I might meet him one more time. Who knows? But yeah, no, it's the impact he's had on the team, the club, the atmosphere. He just, he's like a rare sunshine wherever he goes. And you can't, once you see him play even 10 minutes, you can't say a bad word about him, because he just radiates that positive energy, and it's shown. It really has.
Yeah,
And if
I
we
think
didn't have him, we wouldn't be where we are now. Definitely not.
no, he's one of them players that the EFL rarely gets one of them like key players, in my opinion. He's been one
Yeah.
of them for a long time. For even when at Wimbledon, there was good
Mm.
talks about him and everything like that. And I think it's got even better now since he's been at Wycombe. But
Yeah.
it's just this, there's little hype about many EFL players. You don't see many,
Yeah.
it's like high caliber players.
Yeah.
And then he comes along and completely changes all of that. He's not come from a big team down
Yeah.
to League One or anything.
No.
Built his
And
way up, and I really respect that as well. And it's a shame to see such an icon of league football go, in my opinion.
yeah, I'm excited to see what he does next. I don't. I'm half. My head's kind of my head's thinking that he'll be around the place. He said that he'll come to some home games and stuff and see the boys and the fans and stuff. But uh, I'm thinking that there could be a shock announcement. I really do.
What would you want that to be though?
For him to stay one more year,
Fair.
I could see it. I really could see it. I think it's all a little bit of a. I think he's building it up and building up, but I could see it. I really could. If Jeff Stelling can do it, then he can do it.
That's true.
Let's
Yeah,
put it that way.
that
Jeff
was a
Stelling's
very
not on the pitch for us, but hey ho. Yeah, I don't know. I really could. That when he first said, like, way back when, that this was going to be his last season, I was like, okay, all right, fair enough, fair play. You've had your time. Let someone else take over. But the last few games where you've kind of seen his face and the interview he did after the MK Dons game, I was like, okay, all right. If it is your last game or last games, I'll believe it. But nah, I reckon there'll be a shock announcement. I really do.
No, you never. I think it will also depend on, do you reckon it's going to have an impact on the final, or do you reckon it is going to be,
Oh,
whatever outcome it is, he's already made his mind up?
I don't know. I don't know. But I tell you what, get your bets on for Akinfenwa to score
Yeah.
in that final, because it is just absolutely made for him. Even if he scores in the warm up, just get it'll just cry. It'll be mad. Be mad.
It's just crazy, but the whole, Wickham story I find is just such a good story. I think he kind of symbolizes that as well. A team that's come rising up and stuck very true to their loyals
Yeah.
and, a collective unit. And I think it's what a club should be in, the EFL. And from League One upwards, you don't see much of that. You see it occasionally in some championship teams, but not very often. But,
Yeah.
if you guys do go up, into the championship next season, what would your aim be, and what would you be looking forward to in the championship going again a season on?
So, well, first of all, the league position, stay up. Just stay up. Even if it's by 1 point, just stay up. That has to be the goal. Just to stay up. I think from what I've seen in like the last few seasons, 10 wins. 10 wins is kind of the kind of benchmark. So, and we weren't far off that last time. So if we can get 10 wins then as our target, then great. Obviously this the next time round it'll be with fans, and I tell you what, some of those grounds will not know what's hit them. Split us up if you want. It didn't work in the MK game. Split us up. But some of those big grounds where the atmosphere is soulless and they all sit there and eat their prawn sandwiches and all that kind of thing. The ex-Premier League teams, like Watford, Norwich. God, the Norwich game. I haven't even thought about what I'm going to do for the Norwich games yet. I joked with someone the other day, and I said for the home game when they come here, I'm going to sit in my normal seat. But when we play them up there, I'm going to go on the Wycombe supporters coach. But I'm going to get a home ticket. And I'll wear my Wycombe stuff on the coach, but then I'll go to the loo and just change it quick. But Yeah, yeah. Some of those grounds, like next season, just thinking about it, it's going to be mad. I think there's one big team. I think it's either Leeds or Everton who would get relegated. If we played Everton, that would, well, even if we played Leeds at Ellen Road or Everton at Goodison, it's like we've come from, we were almost out of business 10 years ago, almost out of business, and now we're potentially playing against Everton or Leeds in the Championship. It's mad.
Yeah, it's such a certain things like that. It's talking about Wycombe more, but the link between certain situations between us and you guys is crazy.
Yeah.
It's not okay, the club's completely different and we everything like that, but we almost went out of business and kind of got shut down. I think it was about 15 years ago now. Come up from the conference and first time in League One again. We're looking at Sheffield, Ipswich, Sunderland.
Yeah.
Newcastle was the cherry on the top, but all these things were given to us for the away games, and like I can kind of understand the next season and then going again and everything like that, but it's just such a I don't know. It's a really weird situation, I suppose, for you guys as well, because you got the excitement of these games, but then also you got to focus on getting the points in the bag and making sure you're there again to go again next season.
Yeah. And I was having these conversations with some people that work at the club, and they were saying that there are plans that we've got, but we can't do them under one season in the Championship. We won't be able to function. Obviously, what some people don't appreciate is that the wages, all of the wages will go up. Because of the money that comes in from the Championship, the wages go up for all the players and the staff and whatever. So they have that to deal with. And then if the worst does happen and you get relegated, the wage drop happens. So it's one of those things. The money does make a hell of a difference to clubs like us. We probably, I mean, I don't really know the other attendances of the other stadiums or whatever, but I'm probably going to guess we'll be the smallest.
Yeah.
Great. Let's play on it. It will sound triple that. If we get that place full for every match day, it will, it will sound triple that amount, because it will just be rocking, and that's what everybody wants to see.
Yeah, once a smaller team goes to has a bigger team come down to them as well, when the place is full, because it's all compact, which makes the noise so much better and more exciting. It's just such a you can't beat being there in that stadium and having that because you go to, like, I don't know if you've noticed as well, going on the away games, certain bigger clubs and their stadiums don't live up to the potential, in my opinion.
No.
I'm not Sunderland. I didn't think they were that noisy personally.
Nope.
Yeah, nope. It was one of them. I will just say I don't think Ipswich are that noisy until until they got going the last 10 minutes when we were annoying them.
Yeah,
it's certain like stadiums like that, and it makes you kind of happy to have a smaller, compact stadium, because you get all the time, instead of having 19,000 people scattered around with 4,000 empty seats in between each other.
Yeah, and I think the only, I mean, I've been quite underwhelmed with a lot of stadiums this season that I've been to, but the one stadium I would probably say that has, or two stadiums maybe, that has lived up to it. I didn't go to Fratton Park this season, but Fratton Park would obviously be one. And the other one, quite surprisingly, is Morecambe.
Yeah.
Morecambe, they get that they're in a similar position to a lot of the clubs down there, so they rise to the occasion. They get their flags up, they get all of this stuff out, and they rise to the occasion, and it's just it's really good to see that the fans actually acknowledge that the players need their help.
I think I'm glad Morecambe stayed up, because they did come up last year. It was a situation where they could have got relegated, but we played them on a Tuesday night away, so it was a bit of a different, atmosphere. Tuesday night's always a different atmosphere, but I think for me, one stadium that I was really, Fratton Park was one of them that I was impressed with, but Sheffield as well. I know it's a big stadium and everything; they get a good fans, but that noise when they score, fair play to them, because that is, something that you want to hear. I know we heard it 6 times, but that game, and I never mentioned the game ever, but it's one of them things where you got to respect, still a championship worthy club.
Yeah, it's one of those. Plymouth is the other one, by the way. Plymouth. They really do get the atmosphere going and stuff like that. But it's that thing of I really hate it when you're waiting, like when you're one of those teams that waits for something to happen before you start cheering.
Yeah.
Start the game off by making the noise. If you start the game off by making all that noise, then it actually makes the atmosphere better. The players don't. Everyone says, "Oh, the players don't hear it." They do. They really do.
They always mention it as well. How much they appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's just that thing where if you wait for something to happen, the players have to they shouldn't have to make the atmosphere themselves. That's what you're there for. There's obviously going to be people like fans there and stuff that just want to sit there and enjoy it, and fair enough. But if you're in those parts of the ground that are expected to make noise, then do it, and don't stop doing it until that final whistle.
Yeah,
because we need it, and it showed in that second leg. In that second leg in particular, after I think it's like the 80th minute or something like that, we did not stop until that final whistle blew.
I don't think you stopped then either.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we did for a little bit because we were sort of hugging and jumping on over each other and everything like that. But we stayed. We stayed, and I definitely know that I did until almost every MK fan had left. And yeah, it was electric, absolutely electric. And the fact that their chairman tried suggesting that splitting us into corners will provide a atmospherical advantage is absolute. You know what?
It's what quite a few final questions. What's been your favourite away ground to go to, and also your favourite your team that surprised you the most noise wise at Wycombe?
So favourite away ground, there's 3, I would say.
Yeah.
So Shrewsbury,
okay,
where we won 2-1. I really liked that. The other one was crikey, Bolton. I quite like theirs. And then I have to say it, MK.
Yeah.
Just because of that. But that was my first time ever going there. And what a first game. What a first game. Even though we lost, don't care.
You won the night.
What was the next part of that question? Sorry.
Your favourite team, favourite support to come to Wycombe? Adam's
favourite support. I would say Wigan.
Yeah.
Wigan, because they turned up. Again, the players had a game plan. The fans had a game plan. And they both worked hand in hand together. And they wiped the floor with us that day. They won 3-1. And they wiped the absolute floor of us. They were brilliant. They were absolutely fantastic. The other game, there was another one, but I can't remember for the life of me who it was. Sunderland tried. They tried it. Obviously, it was 3-3 in the end, 89th minute equaliser. They tried it, but then in the end we asserted our dominance and managed to get a draw out of it. So So maybe them too. So yeah, Wigan and Sunderland. And again, if they bring anything like the atmosphere they brought on that day, then then it'll be really cool. Be really cool.
Final question for me. I know you're probably excited for the final. But what we said you don't not score, but are you confident, or are you just feeling you're just going to enjoy the day and go there and enjoy it?
So it's the same thing with MK really. I've kind of learned from previous mistakes where I've got too hyped up, and I've kind of made stupid predictions because I've just jinxed it and jinxed it quite badly. I think that what I kind of tend to do now is if it's a massive game, I'll just go there with quiet optimism, see how the game pans out, and then that will determine how confident I become. So yeah, that's a really boring answer, but obviously I hope we do it. If we don't, then and Sunderland actually deserve to win it. That's one thing I will say is if Sunderland deserve it, like their performance, like and the way they play, and the atmosphere and things like that. If they deserve it, then fair play. Same thing as MK. If they deserved it, then I'd have been like, yeah, fair enough. They did deserve to beat us, but they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net that day. If they deserve it, then fair enough, because we haven't done our job. But yeah, hopefully it comes home.
Let's hope so for you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight,
No
mate.
problem.
I really appreciate it. It's been a good chat, and hope good luck for next Saturday.
Cheers. Thanks.